What's going on, everyone? AD here. Welcome back to another development vlog for Kenshi the Last Skeleton, an animated film I'm working on based on the Kenshi universe. In this tutorial, I wanted to create a Cannibal Hunter character in Character Creator, which is another software I use to build characters that I can use for animating characters in a film. The difference between Character Creator characters and Kenshi characters, like this one here, is that I have full movement over every piece of their body. For Kenshi characters, I can't move their hand, I can't move their fingers, I can't move their mouth or their eyes. So even if I textured this character here and started using this person, they're really just meant for background characters. They wouldn't actually be able to talk or have any voice dialogue or anything like that, based on those limitations. So that's why I need to export out the clothing that I want to create this Cannibal Hunter and send him to Character Creator, and then attach the clothing to a character that I create there. And so that's what this tutorial is about, is how to do that. I'm not going to cover how I actually got the clothing textured and attached to a Kenshi character in Blender. I've already covered that in previous tutorials, so if you want to subscribe and check those out, feel free to do so. So what we're going to do here is take all the clothing that we have attached to the Kenshi character in Blender, and we're going to export out these as object files. So for the pants, we're going to go ahead and do File, Export, and then we're going to make it an object. And then we're going to make sure we have selection only checked, and then we're just going to go up to wherever you want to save it. And as you can see, I have a ton of different Kenshi stuff already exported out, and I've already exported out these objects. So I have all this clothing ready to go. So we're just going to jump right over to Character Creator and see if we can get this Cannibal Hunter created. So when you go to Character Creator, you're going to load up the basic character. There's a lot of different plugins and things that you can buy to allow you to do different things. I've got a lot of different stuff in here where I can create a variety of different characters. For instance, we could create a athletic male. So these are pre-generated characters that have a specific body type, and then you can go from there and you can customize pretty much everything you want. Like you can change every property that you can imagine on this character. If we want to make his back even larger, we can change his back depth. You know, we can change his waist. You know, we want to make his abs peek out a little bit more or go in more. I mean, anything you want to do, you can. So you can just make any type of character you want to make. So the one thing I wanted to say is basically when you're using clothing that's an object file, you're trying to attach that to a character, you're going to run into some issues. And so if I put in this armored rag top that we've exported out already, let me go ahead and just delete the opacity map so we can see it. So here's the armored rag top. And if we want to try to attach this to this guy, let's go ahead and we scaled it up a little bit. We're going to drag it kind of over his body a little bit. And as you can see here, it doesn't quite fit. I mean, we can scale it up a little bit, make it larger. We can rotate it a little bit. But basically, you can see that because of the body type of this character, the clothing just doesn't fit properly. And even if we edit the pose of the character, and we can move his arms down a little bit into the clothing, right? So let's just take a look here. We move his arm over into this shirt, or into the sleeve, and you can still see it's still peeking out a bit. So this is what the problem that you're going to run into is. One thing I would suggest is try to stick with lighter build characters, people that are just, they're not too bulky, they're not too heavy set, or they're not too muscular. You want to just, a regular thin character is probably better if you're using like clothing from Kenshi at least, or from other object files, so you won't run into this problem. See, I can attach the armored rag top to this guy a lot easier than I could the guy that's bulky. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, what if you're using character creator clothing? Let me just show you. I can automatically apply something and I can fit to the body shape of this character. Because this clothing was created for character creator, I can literally just click a button and apply it right to their body. So this actually is pretty nice. But so you're going to run into a lot of issues when you're using clothing from Blender or elsewhere. Okay, so I spent some time customizing the athletic character, and this is what I've come up with. As you can see, this guy has an athletic build, but I've reduced the size of his biceps, reduced the size of his legs. I made him really skinny, and that's what you want to do this, at least the easiest way. So let's go ahead and just add in some of the clothing that we exported from Kenshi. Let's start off with the hat. So we're gonna import in the toggle must. So now that we have the toggle must in, we can now drag this over his head. Now we'll just shrink it down, scale it down a bit. And so we're gonna just try to get this over his head the best that we can. So that means we gotta just kind of scale it and play around with this until we get it just right. Okay, we've got a little bit of, doesn't look bad actually. Looks pretty good. So we have this little peek through over here with the ear, but I don't want to make this too much bigger. So one thing we can do is we can smooth the mesh and see how it looks that way. If we smooth out the mesh a bit, as you can tell, you definitely want the mesh smoothed, but as you smooth the mesh, it increases the polygon count. So instead of 1,400 polygons for this, it's now 8,430. I mean, we could do better with this, but just to show you guys how it's done. So one thing we're going to do here is we're going to edit the mesh of the toggle must. And we're going to go over here and grab one of the vertexes. And we're just going to drag this vertex out. We'll grab this one here, drag this out. See, as you can see, we're expanding it a little bit. And now, if you take a look, we've expanded it out a little bit so it covers his ear. So now we're not going to have that peek through anymore. And if we smooth the mesh out, make sure that the peek through is gone as well, boom, that looks good. So this is ready to go pretty much. So now all we need to do is we need to conform this toggle must hat to the guy's body, because if we move the character, I don't know why it's actually moving with him. It shouldn't be doing that, but I think it's probably because I'm using the same character to provide this example, because I've already done this before. Maybe I should have started fresh with a new character. But either way, when you move the character, the toggle must is just going to stay there. It's not conformed to his body yet. So what you need to do, though, is once you've got the piece of clothing attached, aligned to the character the way you want it, so you're going to select the piece of clothing, and then you're going to go down here to transfer skin weights. And then from here, you're going to select, if it's like shoes, then you'll want to select shoes or gloves. But if it's just, if there's no option for it, you'll just hit default and just hit apply. What this does is it basically applies skin weights to the toggle must for the head of the character. So then when you actually move the character, the toggle must is basically attached to his head. And when you rotate his head as well, the toggle must will react appropriately. As you can see here, as I rotate the character's head, you can see that the The Tagelmus is kind of moving along with his head. We're going to have some peek through, of course, with his chin. But that's basically what you want, is the clothing to kind of conform with the body and move with the body. So if we take a look at actually what this actually did, let's go back to skin weights, and then we'll be able to tell. Let's see, select the head. This is what that did. So this is basically telling the clothing where the weight of the clothing should be, and this is what tells it where it should move when the head rotates and so forth. So you can customize this as well, and you can actually like paint areas where you don't want the clothing to move. You can kind of like paint this blue. So green is basically where there's going to be a lot of movement. Yellow is like a little bit less movement, and then blue and black is like even less movement. And so you got to play around with it, but normally the defaults work fairly well, so you really don't have to come in here and paint anything. But it's good to try if you run into something that that doesn't quite work for you. So either way, we've got the hat, and that's it. So now we just go in and do the next thing. So we'll go accessory. Let's bring in the rag armored top. We're going to scale it up. Delete the opacity map so we can see it. Reposition the 3D object here. Okay, now we'll just see if we can get this on the body. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because when you're doing clothing, it's important that, for one thing that I didn't mention, is that in Blender, you want to make sure that the arms are positioned kind of like in a V angle. You don't want the arms straight down from the character. So you want to make sure that when you are exporting the clothing is actually away from the character's body. As you can see, the rag armored top has got kind of some space here between the clothing and the body, as well as the legs. There's some spacing here, and even the boots. You want to have spacing with all of the clothing when you're trying to bring it in and conform it to a body. That makes it easier for you to apply the skin weights, because if you're trying to apply skin weights to clothing where the arms are near the body, for instance, then it's going to apply the wrong skin weights, because it's going to see that the arms are near the body, so it's going to apply a weight property to the body too, when it should only apply it to the arms. So that's why you want to have some distance here, and I'll show you that more later. So let's go ahead and just try to scale this to what's a decent. Let's see, we got to get this out a little bit, bring this over. And this is actually probably pretty good, because we're going to have a shirt under this, like a chain shirt. So this actually isn't bad, but we need to probably scale it. Hold on. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now the next thing that we need to do is we need to position the character's arms inside of the clothing. So we're going to select the character, edit their pose, and we're going to drag their arm so that their arm is basically through the clothing. And so it looks like they're wearing it. And of course we want to look for mesh peek through and try to adjust. But there you go. As you can see, that looks not bad. On that side. This side still needs some tweaking. Alright, so as you can see, I got it the best that I could. There's a little bit of peek through in the back here that I couldn't really fix, and that's just part of it, I guess. You know, you have to play around with it. But this is pretty good, so it looks not bad. So now that we have the armored rag shirt aligned with the character, we're going to go ahead and apply skin weights. So transfer skin weights, and we're just going to leave this as default. And close. And then if we take a look at the skin weights and go to chest, let's see. It'll be arms, actually. Here we go. So you can see that the skin weights for this armored rag shirt has applied itself to the arms, and that's the upper arm, forearm on both sides, and that's really what you want. Now, see, if we had exported out the armored rag shirt and it was straight down, his arms are straight down instead of at an angle like this, like a V, then what we would see here is if we went to like their hip, for instance, you'd start seeing like their hip and pelvis, you'd start seeing skin weights attached over here to the body as well. And yeah, so basically, or if there was other clothing that you had, like pants or something, like it would apply skin weights to the pants. Either way, you just want to make sure that you have enough spacing here so that the skin weights are applied correctly. But so now, if we move the character, the clothing stays with him. If we change the pose, and let's say we rotate the full body. Need the upper body. If you rotate the upper body, you can see that the clothing is now moving with his body. Anyway, it looks pretty cool. And so basically you just do the same thing for the pants. I've added a chain shirt here so you can see what that looks like. And if we put on the pants, we can do that. And then the boots, same thing with the boots. You just kind of bring them in and put them over the character, and then you just apply the skin weights. So now we have basically a Cannibal Hunter here. So we could do a couple other things here to reduce the polygon count, but just to see how he looks, let's go ahead and just send character to IClone, and this will actually just send the character right over to the other program where we can play around with him and see how he animates. Okay, so here he is, and he looks even better in IClone. I mean, looks pretty cool. His feet are a little weird, but we can always, I think we can fix that. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna notice that once we start animating. I was having some trouble with the boots. As you can see, there's like a little lopsided. The boots were pretty hard to get on this character for some reason. A little bit of mesh peek through. There's things that you can do, like you can hide the body parts in Character Creator so that you don't run into mesh peek through. Go to the armored rag top, and we can go hide body mesh tool. And this allows us to actually select various body parts that we want to hide so that we don't get that peek through from their body. So we could go and hide, say, the upper body where that was peeking out, and maybe the armpits. I mean, in reality, you want to hide everything that you can, because that way you just don't get any peek through at all. So any part that you can hide, I would do it. And so we need to leave like this part open because the character's body there's like an opening there from the chain shirt, so we need to leave that section open. But everything else I think we can hide. So we could just leave that part there, and that's even better. So let's actually send this character back to IClone and see the updated version. Okay, and as you can see, it's gone. The peek through is gone. And we'll have, of course, we have this part of the body still there because you can see it through the chain shirt. So that's what you want. And also the stomach. But everything else is gone. So we just have to make sure that there's no parts of the body seeing through where it's just going to be invisible. Because sometimes you'll remove a body, like part of the body, but then you'll notice that there's like invisible, like it's invisible. But either way, it looks really good. So now if we just add some animation to the character, you can see that the clothing looks really nice. It's fitting pretty good. Now the only thing I noticed was the hat. It looks like we've got some issues with the hat we need to figure out, and then that could just be because I was doing this tutorial. So it might actually be working in my main file. But yeah, I mean the clothing looks nice. Let's do another animation here. Let's see, drink bottle. Yeah, I've got a lot of different animations for various things to speed up stuff. But the beauty of IClone is that I can tweak things, which I have to tweak any animation anyway. But having a lot of like various animations speeds up so much. This is a wood chopping animation. So as you can see, fully animated now with the clothing, and it looks epic. So hope you guys enjoy the tutorial. I mainly make these as well for myself because there's just so much to remember that it really helps me go back. If I forget how to do something, I can remember how to do it. So I'm making these for me as well as you guys. So hope you enjoyed the tutorial, you learned something, and stay tuned for more Kenshi. Take care.